烈士金身，枪不入。王师，
A legendary kung fu master arrives in Canton expecting a medical conference, but instead walks into a city on the verge of collapse. A violent cult is burning foreigners alive, children are being hunted in the streets, and corrupt officials are secretly plotting murder behind closed doors. As chaos spreads across China, Wang Fei-hung becomes the only man standing between innocent lives and total bloodshed. But this time, his fists alone may not be enough, because the enemy hiding in the shadows controls both the streets and the government itself. And before it's over, Wang will face one of the deadliest fights of his life. Before we jump into the chaos, make sure to subscribe and turn on the bell icon, because you do not want to miss more legendary martial arts recaps like this one. The story opens with a grand ceremony led by priest Gao Kung, the spiritual leader of the White Lotus sect, a fanatical, xenophobic movement determined to eradicate all foreign influence from China. A young girl carries a glowing lamp, singing praises to the sect as the ritual unfolds. Gao soon takes center stage, theatrically demonstrating what he claims to be divine protection. He steps into blazing fire without flinching, and swords strike his body without leaving a single wound. Even bullets appear to have no effect. The display is carefully orchestrated to convince the people of the sect's supernatural power and reinforce their anti-foreigner ideology. Fueled by this fanaticism, the White Lotus followers begin destroying anything they associate with foreign influence in an attempt to purify their world of anything alien. Meanwhile, Wang Fei-hung travels by train from Foshan to Canton, where he is scheduled to attend a medical seminar. Accompanying him are his romantic interest, Ant 13, and his loyal apprentice, Lung Fun. During the journey, Wang expresses frustration at the difficulty of eating while the train rattles along. Ant 13 points out that foreigners manage just fine and encourages him to adapt. While Wang remains cautious and somewhat resistant, Fun, on the other hand, embraces the experience with enthusiasm. He marvels at the convenience of train travel compared to walking long distances. But he soon discovers he suffers from motion sickness. Upon arriving in Canton, they are immediately confronted with social unrest. The streets are filled with protesters voicing their anger at the government's handling of foreign presence in China. Tensions rise when Ant 13, dressed in Western attire, draws attention from the crowd. Attempting to lighten the mood, she approaches a group of children to take photographs, but instead, they respond by throwing objects at her. Fun, unable to contain his anger, retaliates by throwing a mug, accidentally injuring one of the children. Wang quickly intervenes, scolding him and calming the situation. The unrest in the streets escalates when news spreads that something is happening at the telegraph house. A crowd gathers as the White Lotus sect attempts to destroy it. Amid the confusion, Ant 13 and Fun begin taking photographs. This attracts the sect's attention. Mistaking Ant 13 for a foreigner, the White Lotus members attempt to seize her. Fun steps in to defend her, but he is quickly overwhelmed and the sect captures Ant 13, intending to use her as a sacrifice. Just as the situation turns dire, Wang appears out of nowhere. With swift precision, he strikes down the men carrying Ant 13, rescuing her before she can be taken away. However, one of the attackers manages to blow a mysterious powder into her face, leaving her temporarily immobilized. Fun quickly escorts her to safety while Wang confronts the remaining attackers. Demonstrating his superior martial arts skills, he defeats them one by one, forcing the rest to flee. Back at their residence, Wang tends to Ant 13 as she recovers. Despite the danger, she insists on accompanying him to the seminar. Later that morning, a local innkeeper named Bus Mak pays them a visit. Recognizing the growing hostility in the city, he brings traditional clothing for Ant 13 and advises Wang to encourage her to abandon her Western attire, at least for the time being. Wang accepts the gesture with gratitude. At the medical seminar, Wang observes a Western-style lecture on human anatomy. When it is his turn to present, he speaks about acupuncture, but struggles to communicate effectively due to the language barrier. Fortunately, a Western-educated Chinese doctor, Sun Wen, steps forward and offers to translate Wang's lecture for the audience. With his help, Wang successfully demonstrates his techniques and showcases the value of traditional Chinese medicine. The seminar is suddenly attacked as flaming arrows burst through the doors and windows, setting the building ablaze. Chaos erupts as attendees scramble to escape. Wang, together with Foon and Sun, manages to escape. Outside, Foon reminds Wang that Ant 13 is alone. They rush back to their residence. Wang finds her inside, unharmed but in the middle of changing clothes, leading to an awkward moment before he quickly steps away. In the city, the situation continues to deteriorate. The streets descend into chaos as the White Lotus intensifies its attacks, once again targeting the telegraph house. Standing in their way is Admiral Naplan Yun-Sut, the officer in charge of the local government forces. Over dinner, the growing tension in Canton weighs heavily on Wang. Acknowledging how dangerous the city has become, he tells Ant 13 and Lung Foon that they will return to Foshan by train first thing in the morning. Later that evening, Wang asks Ant 13 to join him outside so he can teach her a few basic kung fu moves to help her defend herself in case of danger. However, Ant 13 struggles to focus. Her thoughts drift elsewhere, imagining a quiet, romantic moment with Wang instead of training drills. Elsewhere, the political situation begins to escalate. Admiral Naplan receives a telegram from Hong Kong warning of a possible rebellion. The message prompts an immediate meeting at the magistrate's office with Governor Chung. During the meeting, Admiral Naplan reveals that the man behind the uprising is none other than Sun. Governor Chung orders Naplan to handle the situation swiftly. However, Naplan points out that they are already stretched thin, dealing with the relentless attacks of the White Lotus sect. The governor instructs him to investigate Sun's agricultural society and anyone connected to him. Attention soon turns to Lu Haodong, a wealthy businessman believed to be the primary financier of the rebellion. Seeing him as a key figure in dismantling the movement, Governor Chung orders his immediate arrest for questioning. The next morning, just as Wang, Foon, and Ant 13 prepare to leave for the train station, they notice an uproar. When Wang inquires, he learns that the White Lotus sect is attacking the Tongwen Guan, a school where Chinese children study foreign languages. Realizing the urgency, they rush to the scene. What they find is devastating. The school has been ravaged, with destruction everywhere and bodies scattered across the grounds. Wang quickly searches for survivors and discovers a group of children hiding in fear. He gathers them and leads them to safety, bringing them to Mac's inn. However, Mac is reluctant to shelter them. Fearing retaliation from the White Lotus sect, he pleads with Wang to take the children elsewhere, suggesting the city hall as a safer option. Wang considers sending the children back to their homes, but soon realizes they come from different regions and have nowhere to go. Determined to protect them, he escorts those who live nearby back to their families, while the remaining children stay under the care of Foon and Ant 13. At one point, they are forced to hide behind the inn as members of the White Lotus pass by. The situation becomes even more urgent when Wang discovers that one of the children is seriously injured. He decides to take them to the city hall in hopes of finding protection. Upon arriving, Wang encounters Admiral Naplan, who is practicing martial arts alone. Knowing Wang's reputation as a very skilled martial artist, Admiral Naplan invites him to spar. The brief duel is intense, showcasing Admiral Naplan's aggressive style, but it quickly becomes clear that he is no match for Wang's refined skill. Impressed, Admiral Naplan praises Wang, even asking him to share some of his techniques. Despite his respect for Wang, Admiral Naplan refuses to house the children in the city hall. He explains that with his limited number of soldiers, he cannot guarantee their safety if the White Lotus sect launches an attack. Left with no choice, Ant 13 and Foon take the children to a nearby foreign consulate, hoping it will offer better protection. When Wang returns to their previous hiding spot and finds it empty, he is alarmed. Foon appears just in time to inform him of their new location. However, even the consulate presents its own challenges, as the guards refuse them entry. Lu steps forward and resolves the misunderstanding so the guards will let them in. Not long after, the consulate descends into chaos as it comes under siege by the White Lotus sect. Inside, Wang reunites with Sun. Outside, the White Lotus continues its destructive rampage, burning foreign objects, including religious artifacts, as part of their crusade. Inside the consulate, the injured begin to pile up. As Sun tends to the wounded, he quickly runs out of anesthetics and calls on Wang for assistance. Despite initial skepticism from the British staff toward Chinese medicine, Wang steps in and uses acupuncture to numb the patient's pain, allowing Sun to treat their injuries more effectively. As they work together, Wang carefully observes Sun's use of Western medical techniques. The success of their combined efforts earns Wang praise from those present. Flaming arrows begin raining into the building, bringing the battle inside. People scramble for cover. Amid the unrest, Sun and Lu quietly discuss their plans. It is here that Wang finally learns that they are part of a revolutionary movement, aiming to overthrow the Qing government and establish a republic in China. Just as the situation reaches its peak, Admiral Naplan arrives with his soldiers, driving the White Lotus attackers away. Sun seizes the opportunity to slip away unnoticed, evading arrest. Admiral Naplan attempts to arrest Lu but is stopped by the British consul. Choosing to avoid further conflict, Naplan withdraws, though not without taking action. He orders his men to cut the telegraph wires, isolating Sun from external communication. Later that night, members of the White Lotus secretly infiltrate the consulate. Meanwhile, Foon occupies the children by teaching them basic martial arts moves. Ant 13 watches closely, eventually joining in and practicing alongside him. The sight annoys Wang. He orders Foon to go downstairs and practice horse stance. After Foon leaves, Ant 13 pleads on his behalf, softening Wang's stance. Wang gives in and asks her to call Foon back upstairs. In the dark, White Lotus sect members kill the guards at the entrance. They slip inside and hide beneath the staircase, waiting to strike. When Ant 13 passes by, dressed in her Western-style clothing, they immediately mistake her for a foreigner and launch an attack. Her scream alerts everyone inside. Foon rushes in to defend her, engaging the attackers in a frantic fight. Wang quickly takes control of the situation, instructing the children to hide while he joins the battle. From a distance, Admiral Naplan watches the uproar. He lets it escalate, then storms the consulate with his soldiers, claiming to restore order and protect the British consul. However, his true intention is to use the confusion as an opportunity to track down Lu. Inside, Naplan's deception becomes clear. A British consul notices something as he watches Naplan's men arrest the White Lotus attackers, only to quietly release them moments later. The truth dawns on him. This entire attack was orchestrated. To eliminate any loose ends, Naplan coldly murders the British consul. Ant 13 witnesses the act. She rushes to inform Wang. Thinking quickly, Wang disguises her as one of Naplan's soldiers and instructs Ant 13 to find Lu, and warn him that his life is in danger. In that tense moment, Ant 13 grabs Wang's hands and finally confesses her feelings. Foon pretends to be Lu to draw Naplan's men away. As the soldiers chase the decoy, Wang helps Lu escape, disguising him as Foon. Amid the tension, Wang shares a small but meaningful moment with Ant 13, calling her by her nickname with a gentle smile to acknowledge her confession. With Lu temporarily safe, Wang approaches Naplan and requests permission to confront the White Lotus sect directly by going to their temple and facing their leader, Priest Gao Kung. Naplan agrees without hesitation. He also promises to take care of the children. At the White Lotus Temple, Wang and Lu pose as new initiates seeking to join the sect. They kneel before the priest who welcomes them and begins a ritual meant to cleanse them. However, the ceremony quickly turns deadly when the priest attempts to kill Wang mid-ritual. Wang fights back, sparking an all-out battle within the temple. Wang demands to face the sect's true master as he fights his way through waves of followers. In the process, he destroys parts of their sacred altar, forcing Gao to finally step forward. Gao makes a dramatic entrance, performing elaborate tricks and movements to intimidate Wang before challenging him to a duel. The two fight fiercely. Wang deflects Gao's sweeping attacks with his umbrella, then unleashes rapid kicks. Gao loses his balance and falls onto a statue's pointed finger, impaling himself. As Gao dies, the illusion of his invincibility is shattered. His supposed immunity to weapons is revealed to be concealed body armor. Afterwards, Wong reunites with Lu and Foon. They head to a salted shrimp restaurant to retrieve an important book Foon had earlier forgotten, a document containing the names of revolutionary members. At the restaurant, Lu slips away to a hidden spot and retrieves the book. Just as they prepare to leave, Naplan's soldiers arrive, forcing them into hiding. They attempt to sneak out quietly, but Foon is shot in the tension. Fortunately, the bullet strikes a pocket watch given to him by Lu, saving his life. Lu, however, is not as lucky. He is shot multiple times, leaving him gravely wounded. Wong struggles to support him as they escape. Lu, realizing he is slowing them down, urges Wong and Foon to leave him behind. Determined to protect the revolution, Lu throws the book into a fire to prevent it from falling into the Qing government's hands. He preserves the cloth used to wrap the book and tells them to deliver it to Sun. With his last breath, he asks Wong to tell Sun that he fought and died for the cause. Before they can continue, Naplan and his men catch up to them. Wong faces Naplan in a brutal bamboo fight while Foon fends off the surrounding soldiers. As the fight intensifies, Naplan manages to break Wong's weapon and taunts him, claiming he has nowhere left to run. Wong fires back that once Naplan's crime, murdering the British consul, comes to light, he will be the one with no escape. Using a long, twisted piece of cloth, Naplan manages to wrap it around Wong's neck and attempt to strangle him. Wong breaks free and uses a sharp splinter from his broken bamboo staff to strike Admiral Naplan, slitting his throat. At the pier, Ant 13 and Sun wait anxiously. A soldier attempts to arrest Sun, but Ant 13 intervenes, pushing him into the river. Wong and Foon arrive just in time. They hand over the cloth Lu had preserved. As Sun opens it, it reveals the design of a new symbol, the blue sky with a white sun flag representing hope for a new future. And that's how Once Upon a Time in China, Seku comes to an end, with Wong Fei Hung surviving another brutal battle, while the future of China begins to change forever. If you enjoyed this recap, make sure to subscribe, turn on the bell icon, and leave a like so you never miss more action-packed martial arts movie recaps like this.